Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make milk kefir. I'm not going to review all the probiotic and health benefits of drinking kefir. You can find that information on the internet, but I do want to show you the process of making kefir. It's really not that hard. First, you need kefir grains. The grains are living clusters of beneficial yeasts and bacteria that originated in the Caucasus Mountains thousands of years ago. These grains have been passed down through the generations and have to be cultivated from an existing batch, so you first need to get the grains, and then you'll be making more and more of them since they grow. Remember, they're alive. I got these grains from Posimom.com. It's a one-time investment, and then you can use these grains over and over again. They actually grow over time, so you can share your grains with friends if you want, or feed the extra grains to your pets, or blend them into smoothies, whatever you want. The grains came in a small insulated packet, and as you'll see, they survived the trip to my house and are now thriving. Besides the grains, you'll need some sort of a container. I'm using a small glass mason jar. Actually, you need 2 containers, as you'll see, and what I'm using has measurements on it. So I'm going to fill this jar with 8 ounces of milk, which is around 237 milliliters. Don't worry about being exact. This isn't baking. For the best and creamiest kefir, you should use whole milk because the higher fat content will give you a thicker texture, and I think the kefir grains prefer it. They seem quite happy with my 3.25% milk. I use cow's milk, but you can use goat or sheep milk for the same results. How about 2% milk or skim milk? Well, you'll get a thinner kefir, which you might like, but the kefir grains might not be so happy, so every once in a while you should perk them up with some whole milk, just to keep them happy. And pasteurized is generally better than UHT. While raw milk also offers benefits, it can be challenging. Don't use UHT milk, that's ultra-pasteurized milk, since that's subjected to extreme heat in the processing, and that might alter the milk in a way that makes fermentation harder. It might work with some brands, but I would stay away from UHT if you want to make sure you'll get perfect kefir every time. Oh, and avoid lactose-free milk. The grains need lactose to survive and thrive. So now let's get these grains out of the package and into a cup of milk. And you can see that inside the foil packet is another packet, and it says on it that there's a heaping teaspoon of grains in here, together with a little milk to keep them happy. So I'm going to prepare a cup of milk in one of my glass jars. And here you can see an up-close view of the grains. It doesn't look like any curds have formed, but if they have, don't worry about it. Okay, so now I just dump this into the milk, cover it loosely just so no dirt gets in, but it can still breathe, and leave it for 24 hours. All right, here we are 24 hours later, and let's see what we have. It does smell a little yeasty, and it looks just a tad thicker than yesterday. So now it's time to strain this. So I pour the milk into a strainer, and at the bottom of the jar, you can see it's a little thicker. So this has already started to ferment, and it looks like my kefir grains are almost fully awake. Notice that I'm using a strainer with a nylon mesh. It might be overly cautious on my part, but some metals are corrosive, and when they react to the acidic environment, well, who knows? High quality stainless steel is fine. Just make sure your strainer is not made from some cheap metal. And here I'm using a spoon to sort of get the grains separated out from the milk. And there we have it, the first day's fermentation separated out from the kefir grains. And now I'm going to repeat the process with some more fresh milk. Look at the grains. They look a little like cauliflower, don't they? So now I pour another cup of whole milk in a glass mason jar and cover it loosely. It's going to sit for another 24 hours. And meanwhile, the milk that I strained off is perfectly fine to drink. You might want to pop it in the refrigerator if you like it cold, but it's perfectly safe to drink right now. All right, here we are the next day. This is the second day of the ferment on my new batch of kefir grains. So let's call this day 2. And as you can see, it does look much thicker. And yes, it smells a little yeasty. Okay, this is a much faster result than I expected. Sometimes it takes as much as 4 days to wake the grains up after you get them, but these kefir grains seem to be alive and healthy from the get-go. Okay, time to strain this, and you can see the grains here. They are going to grow over time. And you can see why I used 2 jars. So now I'm going to wash this jar. Here it is nice and clean, and the grains are in it. And next the milk. And now it's ready to sit and ferment for another 24 hours. Here we are on the 3rd day, and just for comparison, this jar is from yesterday, day 2. I didn't have a chance to drink it, but let's look at the 3rd day's ferment. And doesn't it look a lot smoother and creamier? And definitely thicker. This is the consistency I'm going for, and at this point the taste is still mild, which is how I like it. If you want your kefir to be tangier or fizzier, you can leave it to ferment longer, and to get the fizzy in the kefir, just cover it more tightly. Here, let's take a look at the consistency of the 2nd day's ferment, and you can see it's a bit lumpy bumpy. And you can see it's grainy in texture. You can use a blender and whip this up to make a smoothie. There's nothing wrong with drinking it. But this 3rd day ferment is obviously much more creamy and, in my opinion, more delicious. Okay, let's take a closer look. And you can see as I pour it out, it's coming out like yogurt. Really nice. And so now that I've separated out the grains from the milk, it's time to start again with a clean jar and put the grains in. Here's a close-up look of the grains in the jar. And now I add some more milk. This time I decided to add a little more than a cup of milk. And now it's ready for the 4th fermentation. Okay, here we are on day 4. So this is after 4 rinse and repeat cycles. And let's take a look at what we have here. It looks pretty solid, and oops, that came out in one big glob. And now I've got a bit of a mess. But it's time to strain this out. Maybe don't pour so much in such a small strainer. A little at a time does it. Now it's all strained, so the kefir grains go into a clean glass jar, ready for some more fresh milk, and the process repeats itself over and over. And every day you get a nice fresh batch of kefir to drink. So what happens if you let the kefir ferment longer than 24 hours? Well, what will happen is that the kefir will become more tangy and thicker, and you might like it that way, so go ahead and experiment with the time. Eventually, the milk will separate into curds and whey and be even more sour tasting. Here you can see liquid on the bottom, which is the separation that I'm talking about. And don't worry, the kefir is still safe to drink, but I find it too sour for my taste. Careful that you don't do this for too long, because the kefir grains need to keep being fed, and over fermentation can cause the grains to become starved or damaged. So you want to strain them out and feed them with some fresh milk. So now you know how to make milk kefir, and you can do this every day. By the way, this is a great way to consume milk if you are lactose intolerant. You should be able to drink this once the fermentation process breaks down almost all of the lactose into lactase enzymes. I'm not lactose intolerant, so I don't know that firsthand, but from what I've read, most lactose intolerant people are able to drink kefir without a problem. If you don't want to drink it every day, you can let the kefir ferment in a colder place, like your refrigerator, and then it will take a longer time to reach the consistency that you like. You can even store the grains in the refrigerator with milk for a week or 2 when you go on vacation, and they should be fine when you come back. Don't be afraid to experiment and enjoy the health benefits. Bon appetit, and thanks for watching. Bye.